How do I feed my family? That was the only thing that I was focused on, which is how do I feed my family? And my shoulder is where my pec is supposed to be. And this is like, this ain't right, you know? What is the emotions that you go through when you are literally ripped away from the people that you know? During that surgery, there were some complications. Really, immediately after that surgery, I ended up developing a hematoma in my arm the size of my fist. So, not a small thing, right? I literally did what I was called to do. I served my country honorably. The crap hit the fan. Oh, well, that's life.
Hi, and welcome to Veterans Corner. I'm George Hinestrosa, an Air Force and Army retired veteran of 25 years and a business owner for 9 years. Here on the show, we explore how military experience transforms into business success. Each episode features veterans who've built thriving businesses, sharing strategies that turn military training into entrepreneurial advantage. The mission is to inspire and equip transitioning service members with practical knowledge and real world insights from veterans who built their businesses in many different industries. And today's guest is Jarrad Turner. Welcome to Veterans Corner, Jarrad.
George, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity.
It's my honor, sir, to have you on here. So, what happens when a combat medic who saved lives on the battlefield in Iraq decides that the fight doesn't end when the uniform comes off? Our guest today knows something that most people never learn, that coming home from war can be harder than war itself. After serving a decade in the U.S. Army, including a deployment that ended with a rocket-propelled grenade and changed everything, he faced a choice. He could accept his medical retirement and fade into the background, or he could turn pain into purpose. He chose purpose. Over the past 15 years, he's fought a different kind of battle, navigating the labyrinth of VA claims with a staggering 94% success rate, securing over $6 million in benefits for veterans who were told no by the system. He has built networks that span from the Pentagon to small town Georgia. He has stood between suicidal veterans in rural America and the health care they desperately needed. And he has done something even more remarkable. He's taken all of that frontline experience and asked a question that terrifies most people in the veteran space. The question was, what if we could use artificial intelligence, the same technology people fear will replace human connection, to actually save the warriors everyone else has forgotten? Today, as the CEO of Pioneer AI Health and Veterans Technology Solutions, he's not just talking about innovation in veterans healthcare. He's building it with a deep commitment to ethics, transparency, and the privacy of those who've already sacrificed too much. They're providing that cutting-edge technology and human dignity they're proving that human dignity aren't enemies, they're allies. Please welcome again Jarrad Turner. And Jarrad, I'm so happy to have you on today, and you're doing such a great work for our veterans who are needing it. So we were talking just before we got started that every veteran, female, male, doesn't matter, comes through the service and has a different experience, and the transition experience is different. So let's start with that. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you are a firsthand example of this. Let's talk about what comes to mind when I asked you that question.
So first and foremost, George, thank you for this opportunity. It's always good to meet a fellow brother or a fellow brother and sister when it comes to our military, and then it's always good to meet somebody that understands that New York bravado, if you will. And sometimes we got to be careful that when I was down in basic training, that New York bravado got me being smoked left and right. At least for that first week, it was nothing but push-ups, aka front leaning rest position, move. So,
Yeah.
but when you talk about what does it look like, what does that experience? I was 26 when I enlisted in the Army. I enlisted in the Army because I was very fortunate to, at that time, after graduating from Alabama State University, to work at the Southern Poverty Law Center. And at that time, the law center was dealing with church burnings. And you have to think about that. You know, you're in the deep South. Your churches are being burned. Like the one sacred thing that we had, churches are being burned. And you know, here it is. That's 1997, 98, really all the way to 2000. So it's really not that distant of a
Wow.
of a history, if you will. But the catalyst to get me into the Army really was being around men that exemplified what it is to be a man. You know, I think about my father, I think about my brothers, I think about them as in examples, but I needed more. Being the youngest of three boys, I wanted more. And working at the law center, actually, it helped me understand that everybody has a responsibility. Your forefathers, your grandmother, you know, there are people who paid the price for us to be able to do the things we have done. So it was watching their examples of just being great men that further reinforced why I should enlist in the military. So you know, when you talk about beginnings, that was really my beginning. That was my catalyst to join.
Right. Wonderful. Yeah, excellent. So, so let's talk a little bit about so you were obviously in Iraq and you were in the middle of it. Um, at the time when you actually felt that shock to your body, you know, what were your first thoughts? I mean, I want to share this with the people because I mean, this hits a lot of people, and like you said, I have a lot of friends that perished. Some came back and then took their lives after the service. You know, survived the war and came back and then, you know, didn't have now mentally or psychologically, and they took themselves out. Um, Very sad. I have more than 5 or 6 people that I know personally, and so that strikes. It's near and dear to my heart. But you know what exactly? And just explain a little bit from your point of view what you were feeling in that moment.
So when I got injured, it was total chaos. You know, again, with all this gray hair, you could tell I got a little bit of wisdom on me, if you will. But you know, this was a time where major fighting had been declared over, and where it was just there were no rules to the engagement. Things were just unsettled. Things were just chaotic, if you will. But isn't that war? That's just part of war. You know, the chaos, the fog. So I remember being injured, and I'm not a small guy, you know, 5'9", 215, 210 pounds. I remember that oh-ish, like, oh my God, what the heck is this? You know, I remember my shoulder is where my pec is supposed to be, and this is like, this ain't right, you know.
Supposed to be like
But
that.
yeah, but that fight or flight that you have and the adrenaline, and it's like, go, move, do something, move, move, move. That's what I honestly remember. Then I remember leaving the green zone and taking my magical flight to Landstuhl, Germany, if you will. I remember being put on the back of the bird, and I remember again, not a small guy, so I'm coming to and I'm trying to pull these tubes out, and I remember that flight medic saying, "Hey, big guy, I ain't got time to deal with you. Push that medicine, go night night." Okay.
Yeah.
I remember it was cold because it was October, and I remember the sternal notch rub for all my medics and EMTs and paramedics and nurses out there. They understand that. And I remember that flight medic saying, "Hey, you got it on the ground, but we got it up here. And brother, you're gonna be okay." So that was, I mean, it was just chaotic. It was crazy. It was madness. It was all the things that you think of and all the things that you can't possibly imagine.
Right.
Being ripped away from your team, and when I say team, I mean my people.
I
You know, I'm a senior medic, so those are my people. I'm supposed to be there taking care of them.
Right.
And even though I'm injured, I'm not even thinking about me. I'm thinking about all of them
Right.
and thinking about what are they going through? How are they going to do this? Who's going to do this? What is going to be done? So it was just an organized confusion. Um, because the best thing is the rapidness of the American medical side when you start thinking about, the healthcare that is provided on the battlefield by combat medics, by Navy corpsmen, and how we get to that next tier of medicine. But then the other thing that you don't think about is what is the emotions that you go through when you are literally ripped away from the people that you know. And now, yes, you might be wearing a uniform, but now I got to trust you. And again, I was 26 when I enlisted, so I think about who's going to get a phone call. What is that phone call going to sound like?
Right.
Do my kids know? So it was so many chaotic things that you go through when all of that takes place.
Right. Right. So so now you're in Germany, and what the next conscious, logical or cognizant thoughts that you can remember of being under control. When was that?
So, interestingly enough, at this time, you were sent to different medical facilities.
Right.
For me, I actually ended up being sent to Fort Gordon because they had a trauma hospital. So I actually went to Fort Gordon after being stabilized, and once I was stabilized, I remember unfortunately being told, "Hey, you got to have another surgery." And during that surgery, there were some complications. Really, immediately after that surgery, I ended up developing a hematoma in my arm the size of my fist. So not a small thing, right? Um, and I remember at the time my missus, my spouse at the time, being told, "Hey, look, yeah, we know he just had surgery, but now we got to go back in because the blood clots formed, and now we got to do this and do that."
Right.
Um, Honestly, it was anger, fear, asking God why.
Mhm.
Why didn't I die on the battlefield? Why not go out on the battlefield versus go out here? Why did I make it through this to have to go through that again? It was just a lot of whys. And I know multiple people have multiple experiences, but that was my particular experience. And, that's not even talking about the amount of physical therapy, occupational
Oh yeah.
therapies that you have to go through. So,
So Jared, so now you are being medically retired. So we talk about transitioning veterans, like I mentioned at the beginning, and most people again transition in so many different ways, and you are now being kind of not forced out, but you are being selected to be transitioned. Let's just put it out. And so at that point, what were you thinking? So, some people, oh, well, what's my next job? Am I going to get a corporate job? Am I going to do this? They're worrying about these kinds of things, right? But you're transitioning, you're recovering, you're still recovering. And what are you thinking at that point? What is your transitioning feeling at that point?
how do I feed my family? That was the only thing that I was focused on, which is how do I feed my family? And so for me, one of the reasons that I was medically retired is because I had lost feeling in my right hand. So I can't palpate a pulse. I couldn't palpate different injuries because I had no feeling in my right hand. The other thing that was taking place was at that time I started having issues with my vision. Now, we hear about the term post traumatic stress syndrome or PTS. Um, But we don't often hear about traumatic brain injury and how that affects us and how it affects you as an individual. And how do you explain that? How do you articulate that is something that was very hard for me because, so for me, 4 shoulder surgeries, 2 elbow surgeries, 2 surgeries on my jaw, and then a piece of shrapnel that filleted me, if you will, you can't see any of that.
Right.
All you see is a guy that looks like he worked out, you don't get to see any of that. So I literally was carrying all the pain of that and the frustration, to be very honest with you, because people would say, "Hey, welcome home. Hey, thank you for your service." And it's like they really don't know that you would rather be in combat. They really don't understand that you would rather be downrange. Again, I was 26. I made no excuses about enlisting in the Army. It wasn't a shoulda, coulda, would've.
Right.
So physically, you have to deal with the pain, but mentally and emotionally, that was also very, very tough.
Right. Right. Wow. So again, transitioning, right? We're talking about transitioning veterans. And so now you're transitioning, you're going through this excruciating confusion because let's just say confusion, right? Because the confusion can create it just creates fear, it creates anxiety, it creates uncertainty. There's so many things like you're saying, the mind is a very complex or well, the mind and the brain are two different things, I think. But spiritually speaking, you're now in a meta state. Your mind, it's all mental, right? Your physical part of it, you can deal with that. But what's going on in your mind is it something else. So how do we go from that Jarrad to the Jarrad that is now advocating for veterans and has spent the last 15 years on this new battlefield that we call recovery, and helping others. You're still pulling your brothers and sisters across the battlefield. You're still doing that same work, but you're doing it differently. You're doing it exactly like you said, the cognitive part of it. You're pulling them through that the traumatic brain part of it, right? Injury or trauma or whatever you want to call it, um, which is really unseen unless it's only felt by the individual. You can't, even though you can say that guy has that trauma, you can't feel it. You can't palpitate it. You can't. It's something that is etherical in the sense, right? But it controls your physical being in a sense that your chemistry is altered, your blood chemistry is altered, your all these things are happening, right? So how did you find the fortitude to do what you're doing now, man? Let's just transition into that piece. And let me just ask you this question right here.
Sure.
So, you know, you were hit by an RPG in Iraq, medically retired, and then instead of just focusing on your own recovery, you spend the next decade becoming one of the most effective veteran advocates in the country. And now you're betting everything on AI, a technology that most veterans don't trust, and that a lot of people think is cold and impersonal. So talk to us a little bit about how you've evolved from how you started working with veterans to where you are now, where you're pushing it now, where the envelope is being pushed and improved.
Yeah. So there's a few things. The first thing is,
That was a long question, right? But it's I try to make it concise in a ways that people can understand where we're going, right?
yeah, and I appreciate that. The first thing is, my journey was very different because I worked for the VA Medical Center. I also worked for the Veterans Benefits Administration. So in working from that, I really got to see the policy side of how things were going. And honestly, I was very frustrated with the system. I didn't trust the system that was there to treat me. Again, I'll say it again. The system that was set up and authorized and, that is focused on solely treating veterans, I did not trust. And because I did not trust that system, I was seeking other ways to really understand what I was going through. That's where I met or was connected to the Share Military Initiative at the Shepherd Center.
Mhm.
At the time, the Shepherd Center was really focused on spinal cord rehabilitation, but through the generosity of Bernie Marcus, the co-founder of Home Depot, and just a true patriot, a man that had served and continued to serve, he gave the seed funding for the Share Military Initiative. And that particular program was all about how do we help at that time treat those who had been injured on the battlefield? How do we help them understand what they were going through? So getting there, the reason that that was so important to me was because every other program I had looked at, it was all cookie cutter. George, you know this, as somebody who was educated, all too often, many people look at veterans, especially combat veterans, and they say, "Oh, woe is me. I am so sorry for you."
Right.
The poor soul, the poor this, the poor that. I have no
Right.
yeah. I have no earthly idea what you're referring to, and I say that, and hopefully many of your audience will hear this and be able to hear, like, really receive this.
Mhm.
I volunteered.
Right.
Not only did I volunteer, but I was chosen.
Right.
I went to basic training, made it through basic training. I was chosen. So people, you have to understand that is very different.
Right.
There is no, oh, woe is me. There is no poor this, poor that. Let's get this very clear, very proud veteran,
Right.
serve my country with pride, honor, and discipline.
And
We're
dignity.
professionals
Yes.
and dignity. That's who we are. So take that person who, played lacrosse, wrestled, football, martial arts. Take that guy and understand that that guy was basically lost. The only focus I had was being the best father to my 3 kids, being the best husband. I wanted to do the things that I knew a man should do, but that was incredibly hard when you're on 3 pages of medication.
Right.
So, because I'm part of the generation where, hey, at the time, the VA would prescribe to you 5 sleep medicines. Yes, 5. Somebody thought that that made sense, but I'm not here to bash the VA. I'm just telling you the reality at that time. But when I got connected to the Share Military Initiative, the one thing that they did is say, "Hey, what are your goals?" And I was like, "Ooh, this is interesting. You really wanna know what are my goals are. You wanna do something that is gonna be very specific for me and my needs." The other thing was they held me accountable. I know what it is to be held accountable as a non-commissioned officer, as a soldier, as a medic. I understand accountability. Don't treat me like a child. Don't treat me as somebody that's broken because I'm not.
Right.
I literally did what I was called to do. I served my country honorably. The crap hit the fan. Oh, well, that's life.
Right.
So I took that mentality and met this amazing team at the Shepherd Center. And the thing that's so different is you can get to see your primary care provider, your neurologist, your orthopedist, your pharmacologist. You get to see all of that within a day or a week.
Wow.
And that was pivotal because what they provided for me, I was able to get all the treatment that I needed within a 12 to 14-week time period versus what it would have taken me 3 to 4 years through the VA. And when you ask, okay, so what is the thing that drove you? Well, the thing that drove me is just the oath that we all took. And I am a warrior and a member of a team. I served the United States and lived the Army values. Um, the oath doesn't have an expiration date. The uniform comes off.
Right.
And your particular mission, role, job, profession at that time comes off. But if you live those principles, if you really hold those principles in your heart, they can be your guide.
Right.
And that's what I was able to do. I stayed focused on the oath.
Right.
So for me, it's the vision of Bernie Marcus and his team, um, and just the professional excellence and the dedication to really want to make lives better, not just by metrics, but hey, you're still around, you're able to give back, you have a new role, you have a new opportunity. Those are the things that actually drove me to be who I am right now.
Yeah. And when they talk about leaders, right? And we always say leaders, right? So leaders can lead from the back. Some leaders lead from the back. Some leaders lead from the front. But no matter where you're at in the line, you're supposed to be leading, right? There's always someone that you're in charge of, or at least you're in charge of yourself, right? If no one's around, right? So, and the oath is still there. So even if you're a solo, Han Solo, you still got to perform your duty, right? Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So so when in essence, when we walk out the door, we're still we're still in charge.
Right.
We're still in charge because the oath hasn't gone away. My life hasn't gone away. What I was doing yesterday has gone away, but today there's something else to do, and that
Right.
and that is what you chose to do. So talk to us a little bit about how this has evolved, from you being taken care of to now you providing a way for veterans to be taken care of in a more modern and technologically updated way with the AI movement that you're working on.
So, in my transition, in my journey, in my growth, if you will, I've been able to be part of what's called the Shepherd's Men. It's a group of us that we've run to raise awareness. We have run from New York to Atlanta, Boston to Atlanta, Chicago to Atlanta. We've done all of these runs, been seen by 125 million people. That was great, but here's the thing. Yes, I can run. Yes, I can connect with people, but how do I quantify it so we can scale it? So from there, I ended up helping co-found an organization called the Warrior Alliance, which is also doing amazing work. But that work was essentially limited by the four corners of the state because we can understand what are the best resources here in Georgia, but how are we able to measure the best resources throughout the Southeast?
Mm.
Um, when you start asking, okay, why now? Why with AI and how? George, all Army medics are trained by nurses. And the one things that nurses would always do, and for all your listeners and viewers that are nurses, my heart goes out to you. Thank you so much.
Mm.
You were all some educated bullies. I said it. You're all educated bullies. Okay. There is nothing like a nurse telling you, hey, look at here, son. You don't treat the disease, you treat the individual.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. She said, I don't care what disease they got. I don't care what's going on with them. You touch them, you feel them,
Mm.
you make sure that you're connecting with what they are going through.
Right.
Uh, as an EMT, we're taught how to do a head to toe assessment. So that's why I say you have to touch. Can't just visually see it. You have to be able to understand, is there bleeding? Is there crepitus? Is there something broken? Is something dislocated? Do I need to apply this, apply that? So George, what I've been able to do is take that very simplistic but very detailed way of being a medic at the lowest level, being an EMT, and now how do we use technology? We use technology because we have to remember we are the ones fueling the technology. Many people are apprehensive of AI, and that keeps them away from it. And I will even go a bit further. A lot of people in the Black and brown communities are very apprehensive of it. Well, if we want it to run rampant, stay away. But if you want it to be perfected, if you want to make it better every day, you have to engage with it. Well,
Yeah.
what do we do as soldiers? We find the hardest route, and that's where we go.
Right.
So I've basically been able to understand the problem, not just through data, not through this research, but lived experience. And in using our brotherhood, sisterhood, been able to reach out to some of the best and brightest in the AI industry and talk to them and understand where are the parallels? How does this exist? How can we improve it? How can we make it benefit?
Excellent. Excellent, Jared. So in essence, give me an example. Let's get an example to the audience, right? So here we have a transitioning vet. Let's say he went through something like your traumatic experience. What would be some of the steps if we use this new system that you're developing, and that you guys are already working on and probably already have it in marching status? Um, Give us a little rundown of how a veteran can look forward to using that, or if they reach out to you or they reach out to the community, what how can they go about engaging, and what are the steps? What does someone have to do?
So very simple. The easiest thing is for them to register on our site, which is Pioneer AI Vitals. But the process and what I want many of your viewers to understand and look at it is like this. When you and I served in the Army, we had what we call a battle buddy, right? That battle buddy was somebody that you came through the ranks with this person, or this person was a mentor, or this person just had enough knowledge and experience to understand you, and you would move forward together.
Right.
One of the things that I saw that has happened to many of us is that we've lost our battle buddies. We've lost our community. We lost the brothers and sisters that were there. When we're in uniform, everybody looks the same, so therefore you feel like you can communicate with anybody. Well, when you take that uniform off, what happens to that brotherhood, sisterhood? What happens to that battle buddy? What we've been able to do through proprietary research and proprietary methods is create your virtual battle buddy. This virtual battle buddy is, in an instance, it is your partner, your partner. You're training the technology to understand who you are.
Right.
You're training the technology to listen to you, and you're training the technology to help you understand, hey, I'm experiencing this. Hey, I need this.
Right.
Where or what are the best resources that fit me? The thing that we have to dispel, and it's not just the VA, it's a large amount of entities. They keep treating us as groups. Oh, you served, so therefore you are this. Wrong.
Right.
My passion, my purpose is very different from somebody else's passion, somebody else's purpose.
Right.
You have to understand the individual. That's where AI has been beneficial. We can't scale an organization or a company to have one battle buddy for every person that is separating from service. That is a bad business practice. It is, you are, yeah, you're a Puff the Magic Dragon, that ain't about to happen. However, through using technology in the most ethical ways, in the most functional ways, and always ensuring that you keep the human first, now this is what we've been successful with.
Wow, that's incredible, man. Yeah. So, to what level? So, how many levels of development are there in this? Are we still at the experimental? Are we at the we're trying to tune it in? Are we? So, where exactly do you see the technology going? You don't have to share details or anything, but just bird's eye view, where we are, and what comes next.
Bird's eye view, we are getting ready to launch in Q1 of 2026. We have been doing this for the last year plus to really hone the system and make sure that it is secure, it is private, and that it is ethical. At all costs, it's all about trust. Nobody will ever communicate with any person or entity if they don't trust it. So we've built that into the system. We've also made sure that, hey, look, there are different aspects of the system that really represent you. There's an aspect of the system that represents a Black divorced dad. There's an aspect of a system that represents a Caucasian female. There's a part of the system that represents a Latino brother. We had to make sure that this is all encompassing because, again, it is not cookie cutter.
Right.
So we are now at that point, and we're in the beta testing phase. So, like I said, Q1 of 2026, you will see this go live.
Wow. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. So that's great. So it just there's a lot to take in there. So another question that comes to my mind is, what involvement does the veteran have to have, the transitioning service member? What do they? Is it how do they get plugged into that system? Is there it just hey, show up and fill out an application? What do they need to bring to the table other than themselves? DD 214, medical records. I mean, what exactly are we talking about?
For right now, in this particular phase where we're asking people self-identify.
Self identify.
Self-identify and then let us understand who you are. Be patient with the process. The process is not, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of data, documentation to verify. No, we're not doing that. If you come in and if you're okay, I'll use layman's terms. If you want to be that pogue, then guess what? Hey, you'll be kicked out. We've got ways of weeding those individuals out.
Right.
But for those who would truly serve, and our platform is very different because we serve service members, veterans, first responders, and their family members.
Your family members.
In order to have success, you have to have family. That family doesn't have to be your husband or your wife. It can be a caregiver. That's why we say family. And as you know, as we get older, because of the relationships that we form, it's like, hey, that's my brother from another mother, those types of, when we say family. But it's a system that essentially understands where you're at. It understands what you have done, and it understands what are your goals, but you're feeding that to the system. The other thing about the system is based upon your location, based upon the things that you are asking it to do, now it goes out and it is being your battle buddy. If you need somebody to go reach out, and I'll go back. If you need somebody to go reach out and say, hey, how do I talk to the first sergeant? Okay, hey,
Right.
this is going to give you some actual steps on how do we talk to the first sergeant. Or, hey, I don't understand what's going on with my body. What are some of the recommendations? It's using proven methods to give you those best recommendations. Now, however, we are not diagnosing anything. We don't assume that you have anything. You have to build trust within the system. And that way, once you build the trust in the system, it gives you recommendations. So it's valuable for you to say, hey, that's not a good recommendation. Okay, perfect. We'll
Mhm.
go through another line of questions to make sure that we or the system actually understands you specifically.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, and this is what a coincidence because just this past week, I just bring this up because I think it's a caveat to what you're saying, right? So I'm one of those guys that have been, even though I'm in the digital marketing space, AI is something that has just come upon us, right? It's overtaken, and it's kind of like just it's a wave that is kind of unstoppable. Let's just put it that way. But I found myself asking AI several questions because I hurt my knee a few months back, and I'm very active still, play soccer and some other things, but and I self-diagnose. And I used to go into Google and say and ask questions, but now I've been using the AI to do that same thing. And it gives me a good breakdown depending. So you have to be very specific sometimes in how you prompt or how you ask the question. It's not just if you ask a generalized question, you're going to get a generalized answer. If you dive deeper into that question, or just come at it from a little bit different angle, or take part of the answer and ask for clarity, it'll do that, right?
Correct.
So you have to understand what AI is. It's not just Google giving you back, hey, here's a Word document with some information. It's giving you a extrapolation of many different sources, of many different proven things that already exist. It's not that it's making it up, right? So I think that kind of that bond that you have to create yourself with AI, you have to come and you have to befriend it. You have to understand the tool for what it's worth, right? You have to kind of learn to trust it in a way, right? Um, on the mental level, right? Because I think that's where the block, where the filter is, or AI. We got to stay away from that because it's going to take us over, right?
So let me add this, George, because I love what you were saying.
Right.
All too often, there's entities like a Google or WebMD, and people will go to those entities and say, hey, how am I feeling? You don't have relationship with that.
Right.
You haven't even been tracking your own data. On our platform, when you build that relationship with us and you build a relationship with the platform, first, you can build it with your mobile device. Second, you can build it with a wearable device. Once you build that, the AI is now understanding more specifically what you are going through.
Right.
And that's where it's different. This type of battle buddy, if you will, understands you. So when you are seeking a better understanding or a better answer, it is way more concise and consistent with what your needs are. And that's the thing that we were building, and that's what we have built.
And that's where I wanted to get to. I wanted you to say that exactly, right? Because I think people don't understand the AI very well still to this day, even though it's been around for a little while now. I'll continue though. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, many of us don't understand. If you're on an iOS platform, if you're on an Android platform, if you're on a Google platform, guess what? You're already using AI.
Right.
You're just not using it to its total capacity.
Right.
And, again, the brotherhood, sisterhood has been good to me. There's a gentleman named Jerome Hardaway. He is one of the best in America. He's an Air Force veteran. I don't hold it against him. He liked better food than I liked. It is what it is, and he'll see this and he'll be like, that daggone Jarrad's got a brain injury. Yes, I do. What you gonna do? You gotta love me anyway. I'm old and I got a brain injury. All right, whatever. But what I was able to do through the brotherhood, through trust, through relationship, is say, hey, Jerome, does this make sense? Yes. Does that make sense? Yes. Research this, research that, read this. You just have to, again, we have the biggest, best network. We're veterans.
All right.
Nothing else is better than being a veteran. other than being a parent or a spouse.
Right, right.
But being a veteran is you have this amazing network,
Um,
but we're not tapping into it.
right.
I always tell people, you
Yep.
didn't do it by yourself when you put the uniform off. What makes you think you got to do it by yourself now? Stop. We didn't like a whole bunch of things we had to do when we had the uniform on. You don't like them now, but we learned to embrace it. And George, you remember this term, embrace the suck.
Right, exactly.
Break it down to its simplest format, and guess what? You'll realize AI is, yes. Can it be intimidating? Yes. Can it be dangerous? Yes. But the closer you get to it, the better you understand it, the more impactful it can be for you and your life,
Right.
that's what we have to do.
Yes.
Embrace this technology, get involved with the technology, and then we can tell the people that are like big systems, big healthcare systems, then it's like, hey, look, no, you won't dictate to me. I'm going to dictate to you. Well, hi, because or how, this is my data. And that's what's important. I don't need you doing the research on a million people and say, hey, you fall in this category.
Right.
Wrong answer. Here's my data. Well, how did you gather it? From my phone.
Right.
Oh, well, hold on a second. Now we've got something. And then, George, I will also add this other thing. There's a lot of other organizations that are built to make money, period. They don't care about who they decimate. They don't care about who they take advantage of. They have no honor. They have no loyalty. They have no duty. Not us.
Right.
We are built on being honorable. We are built on being ethical, and we stand behind that. So when you sign up with us, you will realize there's a button, and I call it the nuclear button. And a lot of my funders are like, please don't use that terminology. And I'm like, I'm going to keep using it anyway. But the data's on your phone. So guess what? You don't want it? Bam, hit the button. We'll ask you in 3 days after that, are you sure you don't want it? Hit the button again. By the 5th day, you say you don't want it. We can't get it. You can't get it. It's gone. Now, because we are a data company, because we do work with HIPAA and PHI and PII,
Right.
there are certain standards and protocols that we have to have,
Sure.
i.e., I have to maintain the non-identifiable data. Yes, that's good sound business practices and legal practices. However, all of the identifiable data, it's on your phone.
Right.
It's on you to do with what you want to do. We are a company that is focused on partnership and collaboration with our users. That's why we built this company, to truly honor your service and your sacrifice. We're not here trying to take advantage of folks. We want to help improve the quality of your life, the quality of the lives of those family members that you have identified, and build our community and tell the stories of success, not the downtrodden veteran.
Yes. Thank you so much. Preach it, brother. And, um, and that's exactly the whole thing. And then sometimes I have this conversation with other guests that I've had on. I see so much potential. I see so much resources within the veteran community. Sometimes I'm looking through LinkedIn. I'm just looking and seeing what people are posting and but I don't feel like we are depending on each other to bring each other up. I think that as veterans, we we should be dominating the business space. We should be dominating corporate. We should be the backbone of all of these types of industries. You know what I mean? They exist out there, but ours should be the best because we organize. We understand what organization is. We understand what sacrifice is. We understand loyalty, right? Dignity of the other person. You make my life better. That means that my family is going to have a better life. We're not thinking about, oh, how can I get over on this guy? Or how can I make a buck? You know what I mean? I mean, I hope that's not the case with most veterans, right? But I'm talking in general. I feel that most people feel the same way. We're just not doing it. And what you're doing, Jarrad, and I appreciate it, brother. Um, this thing that you're doing is massive, massive. And I want to come back. Okay, we're getting down to the 44th minute here, but and I want to keep it short enough so that people will watch. But we have to come back and talk about this some more, right? We have to just specialize and talk about some of this. Maybe have a series of shorter meetings, podcasts that we can put this out in a more we maybe go a little deeper into things, right?
Let's definitely go deeper into this. So, George, you said it best. And again, we are a big community of amazing men and women of different nationalities, different races, complete diversity. And the thing about it that so many of us have done, we've let this 20% get in here and just infiltrate the system. We let them sit here and speak for us. No more. You don't speak for me. This is a thing that so many of us have, we have to acknowledge, we have to understand, and we have to take charge now, not yesterday, but now. We, especially those of us who have served our country, I'm not talking combat yet. I'm talking about the men and women who volunteered.
Right.
If you have served this country after Vietnam, you volunteered.
Right.
You volunteered. You said, I'm going to give you a blank check to send me anywhere, anytime, any place, and I'm going to give you 100%. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
sometimes many of us have sat back and said, okay, I'm done.
Right.
You thought you were done. The oath has no expiration, period, stop.
Right.
The other thing is this, as you said, we forgot that yes, it's going to be hard. I don't care if you got injured. I don't. I don't care if you went to combat. I don't. You served. You didn't go to those birthday parties. You didn't have that wedding anniversary. Some of us didn't even get a chance to see when our loved ones might have passed.
Right.
You have earned right to do what you need to do. And the best thing for all of us to do is to work together and hold each other accountable the same way we did when we were in uniform. You
Absolutely.
talked about the backbone. As a former non-commissioned officer, I am the backbone. You had to earn it. Yes, it was hard. Yes, but you've been through the hard stuff. Now that you're a veteran, understand you have experiences, you have stories, you have passion, you have so much knowledge and opportunity in front of you. But you have to continue to keep working. You have to now take those best practices that you had in uniform, get in the community, get out there and get involved. Do things that others can't do. Many people in our society today are focused in their little corners. And that's why I love AI.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm scared. I don't want to do this. I'm apprehensive.
Right.
Brother, sister, you were scared before. And guess what? The bullets were flying.
Right.
These right here, you're accustomed to a battlefield. This is what AI is now. It's the new battlefield.
Exactly.
You didn't run then, so why are you running now?
Right. 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 Get on board. Absolutely, brother. So to end this portion of it, Jared, because we could go on forever. I feel that you and I have a lot in common. I think we could be here for hours. Just one last thing, and before we chime out to the audience, what is Jared doing apart from all these great things and all this vigor that you're putting into helping our community? What does Jared do to quiet himself at the end of the day? What are the rituals that Jared maintains or that has helped him um, stay focused, right? Because a lot of these things require mental energy, and our body, we're exuding mental energy all the time. How do you stay focused, man? What are there a couple of things that you do? Diet, meditation. What is it that Jared does with his family, just or by yourself at night, lock yourself in the closet, whatever it is?
So the first thing that I do is have gratitude. No matter what you've been through, have gratitude. There's enough statistical data out there that if you have more gratitude, your outlook on life is going to be different. Hear me when I say have gratitude. I did not tell you it was going to be easy. I need you to be able to find in the middle of the storm, I need you to search for peace.
Right.
And I need you to understand, take that peace, even if it's 60 seconds of peace, be thankful for that 60 seconds of peace. The other thing that I've also done, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning, Saturday and Sunday, and I'm going to do something physical by 5:30, whether that's a run, whether that's a bike, whether that's sitting in the sauna, whether that's sitting in the steam room, whether that's getting in the water. Do something every morning. You have to do something that will remind you, and then it needs to be tough. So it doesn't have to be a high adrenaline thing, but it needs to be something that is hard. George, I learned a long time ago, sitting down and being quiet, meditating, praying, writing. Sometimes that can be hard because many of us want to go, go, go. Embrace the hardest things that you can do and realize that you're stronger than you are.
Right.
You are way stronger. And then finally, I would say be incredibly selective of the people that you gather around. Let those people be people that feed into you, because if they're not, they're taken away from you. Be very selective. Don't let somebody come in and take your peace. I've had too many people who will say, well, that's boring. All you do is go to the gym. All you do is work out. All you do is get in the water. Well, that's my peace. So I'm glad that you think it's boring. I'm not asking you to do it with me. So guess what? Go that away, as I like to tell people.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to understand, just be you. I love to laugh. I love to being a father, being a grandfather. Look, I cherish those moments. Cherish those moments, and that's really it when it comes to me. I would definitely, if you would have me back, George, I would love to do this again. We got some time, but we need to definitely have some more conversations and help people understand the opportunity is now. It wasn't yesterday. It's right here. It's in front of them.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point for this program, right? This is not I get nothing from this other than the satisfaction of giving back and highlighting people as yourself. And all my guests are fantastic. I haven't had one guest from the first guest to now that has had a woe is me. Everyone is very thankful, but I'm thankful that I want the veterans out there and transitioning people that haven't become veterans yet to have a place to go. This is why I named it Veterans Corner. I want us all to meet and to see each other successfully. This is how veterans are successful. This is not the woe is me. This is not the, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is the, we have done it and we're doing it still, right? And that's where our mindset has to be, right? And every day is a learning experience. No one knows it all. We're all trying to improve, and we're all trying to make a better life for ourselves. And if we can help others at the same time, that's the whole idea.
Yes.
That's the whole idea. Well, thank you so much, Jarrad. So so that brings us to a close here. Just let me close out. So thank you so much for being with me, Jarrad, and we will get together. So that wraps up today's episode of Aaron's Corner. A huge thank you to Jarrad Turner, amazing guest, and hopefully you guys will reach out to him for sharing his journey. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Join the conversation by sharing your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Until next time, keep pushing forward, stay strong, and remember, you're never alone.